What is going on? I am Jack, and this is Log Cabin Firewood. Well, today we have to go through and load up the stand. I have to make a few bundles, and we're going to talk a little bit about how much wood we burned so far this year, and if we are on track to burn about the same amount of wood as last year. So let's get to it. But we went through and loaded up the big four-wheeler with a bunch of wood. This is a bunch of maple. There is some ash in here. Now, it did rain for 2 days straight, so some of this is wet, but this is just going to get bagged, and it's probably going to sit in my shed for a couple weeks. It will dry out in the shed before it makes it to the stand. The big four-wheeler is 10 cubic feet. So there we go. This is a nice thing here. You know, Ken Anderson and Danny from York Firewood had one of these up at Hope the first year we went up there, and we had no conveyors, no help at all, really. Like, it was just straight up all hands on deck, moving stuff by hand. And this made it easy for me to move things around. The next day, I went home and got one of these. But most of you know that this is the WolfeRidge bagging station. I do prefer bags. Even with the added cost, I do prefer bags. It's just quicker for me. It's easier for me. And I don't have to staple handles into the wood. You fill the thing up. This holds exactly 1 cubic foot. These bags are 1 cubic foot, so it's easy. My customers here lately have been bringing my bags back. All of these bags here, all of these bags are recycled. I'll put you in the picture a little bit better there. But yeah, so all these ones that we're going to be doing today are recycled bags. So that's nice that clients are bringing them back. They know that I will use them. I think they realized that when they brought a couple back. And then my neighbor, he buys a ton of my wood. Him and his family sit out around their fire pit, and I told him, I was like, look, get you a firewood rack, and we will just, you know, figure out something to where I can keep his rack full, because I do have a bunch of campfire wood. I mean, this is essentially campfire wood. It's just a softer pine. And I said, look, we'll work out a deal, because he's kind of getting, I don't want to say taken advantage of buying these bags, but he keeps saying, nah, man, I like supporting you, so thank you. But the shorts, look at me, I can't even think, guys. The shorts have been going crazy. Tons of traction over the holidays. You know, things are slowing down, people are back to work, and that's expected with social media traffic. But man, I don't know if it's just that people are ignorant and just don't know, or if some of the questions that they ask most of the times are trolling questions. So if you get one person that comes at you the wrong way, it kind of changes your whole attitude the whole day. And when you respond to comments, it's hard not to give that same attitude to the next person. And there's been days on YouTube where I have just not even looked at it, because I don't want to deal with comments. Yes, it comes with the territory and it's part of the job, and I do it, but it does wear on you when you're somebody like me that actually cares about everything you do. So my only goal with the whole YouTube thing is to just provide knowledge and show you how I do things that make my life easier. I'm not a how-to channel. I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is the only way to do something. I'm not going to tell you that my equipment is the best, because there's a lot of good equipment out there on the market, and you have a lot of options. It's my job to show you the equipment that I like running at its best. That's it. I will show you how my stuff works, and that's it. I'm not going to sit here and try and sell you. There's enough used car salesmen out there. I try to give you the most honest experience with how I choose to do things. And I think more channels need to be like that. I understand some channels, they take paid partnerships or whatever, and they are required to say some things, and that's okay. That's all right, as long as you believe in that product. I'm not saying I would never take a paid partnership. I'm just saying if I did, I would really have to believe in that product. That way I'm not leading the public astray, or leading you in a different way that's, you know, far-fetched from the truth just because somebody's putting something in my pocket. You know, I recently said yes to something that I'm going to show you on the channel coming up, and I asked this marketing person, I said, you know, what do you want out of this deal? And he simply said nothing. He's like, I'm going to send you this, and if you like it, talk about it. If you don't like it, let me know, and let's see if we can make it right, and go from there. And he's like, you know, just share your experience. He says, I was browsing around social media. I think you'd be a good fit for us. And I think they're going to be a good fit as well. So stay tuned for that. We'll talk about that in the future. I'm down for companies that support creators like that. And this isn't going against any creator that takes things, that wants to work with other people too. It's up to you on what you want to work with. I'm just talking about my experience and how I view this whole partnership thing. I mentioned in the past and that I wanted to do more social media, and I think it was James Saunders or something like that. I don't know. That's the first name that's popping up. If it's not you, I'm sorry. But he said, man, these boiler shorts are getting old. These boiler shorts are doing really well. The month of December, for me, little old Jack, posting on 4 different platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. It was 12? It was 12.8 million views, I think I got, on all 4 platforms. It actually might have been more. It's 12.8 or 22.8. I'll check. And if you need to know that, I'll dig around and figure it out for you. But, and I understand things are getting old, but the world is what watches the shorts. You know, the algorithms push things out around the world. It doesn't always just go to my existing and current subscribers. And that's how content creators put a few extra beans in their pocket, is when things get shared to the world. So I've been trying to be very informative with my stove, very informative about what I do with, you know, how I run my little roadside stand. You know, as far as some of the big firewood producers go, I'm just a hobbyist. I don't do this, you know, to make 90 cords a year. You know, this past year I wanted to do close to 40 cord. I think I split maybe 9 for myself, maybe. I did split a lot more wood. You know, I went to Hoosier Firewood Hysteria. We did Hope. Where else did we go? I split a bunch of wood for the neighbor. I split more wood for people in need than I split for myself and sell. That's another thing you could always say about Jack, is Jack does take care of each other. I take care of those in need. And that doesn't mean that I'm sitting here giving people money. I help people in other ways than monetary ways. I mean, I guess you could still call firewood like a monetary item, but you know, not like, it's not like I'm handing somebody $200 and saying, here. But yeah, it's been a wild ride. We are 43,000 followers on Facebook, 11,600 on YouTube, almost 9,000 on TikTok, and almost 20,000 on Instagram. And again, all this started in October of 2025, and it's now January 11th. So that's pretty good traction, pretty good, you know, views and shares and growth in the past month and a half. I'm pretty proud. And that's not sitting here tooting my horn. I'm just saying I have put in a lot of work over the past 3 years, and friends have always told me to branch out and do the other social medias, and I always said it's just too much work, which it is, you know. I spend hours editing. Compared to what I get back, sometimes it's still not worth it. Now, am I seeing better returns now to my investment? I mean, this is YouTube, and being a content creator is an investment. I am seeing better returns. Is this I'm ready to quit my job and be a full-time content creator? No, absolutely not. But with my overtime being cut, you know, this is nice to have a little bit of side money coming in, not only from the roadside stand and social media. It's very nice. But yeah, some of the comments we get, and I honestly think it's just people being curious and they don't know. But one of the most frequent comments I get is, why do I always split toothpicks? Well, this right here is why I always split toothpicks. I mean, that right there is still a good sized piece of wood, in my opinion. This is about what I burn in my wood boiler. And then there's the other thing. Why do I burn toothpicks in the boiler? Downdraft stoves, or downdraft gasification, they actually burn better on these smaller pieces of wood. Now, that all depends on where you are and what your setup is. If you have some big shop that's poorly insulated and you have in-floor heat that wasn't installed correctly, or if you have the cheap line underground and not Central Boiler's Thermopex, you're gonna burn more wood. I got a buddy and he's got a similar stove, a gasification one, and his wood, or I'm sorry, his lines are buried like 3 feet down, you know, below the frost. And you can clearly see in the snow where his stuff is melted, and you can see a path of where his lines run every time it's frozen or snows. If you're seeing that kind of thermal loss in the ground, imagine what your system's doing to the stove. You're overworking your stove, you are burning through your wood, and yeah, it gets expensive that way and time consuming if you're gonna burn more wood. We, on average, burn 6 full cord here per season. At least that's what it was last year, and I got one more bundle to do, and then I will take you over there and we'll talk about how much wood we burned, and I'll show you. But you know, there's some people that, you know, I guess in a colder climate too, you're gonna burn more wood. Here in Maryland, it's been a super mild winter, and my house has stayed 74 degrees. The garage has stayed 65-ish, unless I'm out there. I turn it to 70. I mean, right now I've got the garage door open and it's set to 65, and I'm kind of heating the outside world. Which, New Year's Eve, I did have a little boo-boo, and I left this thing open all night long and heated the outside world and burned up all my wood. But it happens. Worst case scenario, I would have just burned up all my wood and the fire would have went out. Somebody mentioned on Facebook, you know, oh great, they said, oh great, you got drunk and you almost boiled your stove over. Now, these stoves won't boil over. They'll cook up your wood, but there's zero chance of boil over with these. Even if you have a power outage, the computer, or not the computer, those dampers are on like a spring. They'll even shut down to where it won't boil over. Well, that's pretty cool that we just figured out that this wheelbarrow was, what did we say, 7 or 10 cubic feet or something like that. And we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12 wheelbarrow loads, or 12 bundles out of this. You know, it was heaped over, so that's why we got more. I'll have to get another bag and do this one. Let's go talk about the stove and the wood that we use. So as mentioned, we do plan for 6 full cord a season. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And it is now January 11th. We have burned through the 2 full cords. I've burned through a piece of this one, and I have burned, I think, 1, 2, and this in totes. And this is under a third of a cord. These are the small totes. These aren't the whatever they are, 375 gallons. I think there's 275s and 375s. These are the smaller of the two. This works out to be about a quarter of a cord loosely thrown in. And it's probably less because it's bigger chunks. This was some of the cookies and stuff that I've been trying to burn in here. And it is working. You know, I throw some of the smaller stuff on the bottom and then I throw this bigger stuff up top. Somebody had mentioned in the comments, you know, it kind of helps push things down because these are downdraft stoves. The wood has to constantly fall on itself for them to burn efficiently, but that's kind of why I prefer smaller splits. The smaller splits burn up easier and always keep the smaller splits don't burn up easier. It's that they make a coal faster than these big chunks. And you got to have a good coal bed in these to work. So that's why I prefer smaller splits. And you could see over here, this was some of the stuff that I cut 2 years ago and that I knew I was going to get one of these. I did start splitting some of this stuff bigger. I mean, that's a bigger piece, a bigger piece, bigger piece. There's still some small splits in there, but it's a good variety of things. So this was some of the stuff that, you know, I cut, you know, planning that I was going to have a boiler. It's a little bit bigger. It's not as small as some of this. Some of this over here could probably get thrown right into the bundle wood. But that's just me. It comes down to personal preference. And I've had probably 24 messages from owners of these gasification stoves as well as dealers of this brand. And they have thanked me for making the videos that I make, showing the public how to run these as efficient as possible. Are there other ways to run them? Yes, but 90% of the problems you hear and see with gasification stoves is that you are just burning way too wet of wood, way too big of wood, or you think you can run these things like it's a traditional boiler. If you're going to buy a gasser and you're going to cut trees down right now today and expect it to burn in one of these, you're going to have issues. It's going to plug up with creosote. It's going to plug up with creosote faster than you can imagine. There is no exhaust in this part where you load the wood. The wood gets forced down into the reaction chamber and then comes around. It'll come down underneath and then up back here on this heat exchanger, and then it vents out. So that's why there's well, here's a picture of it right here. You load the wood up in here and then everything gets forced down into the reaction chamber here, and then it gets pushed around through the heat exchanger and then out your chimney. So that's why these fill up with creosote so fast, because smoldering wood creates creosote. And that right there is exactly why chimneys jam up with creosote, because you're burning a cold fire. These things shut down and just maintain themselves all day. When the house calls for heat, naturally it's going to take the water temp from the stove. I mean, the water, it stays at 185, but you know, as soon as the house calls for heat, that water temp's going to drop. When the water hits 165, this thing fires back up, brings the water back up to 185, then stops. Then every 20 minutes, it will fire up a pulse setting where it will either go for 90 seconds or the reaction chamber hits 250 degrees, whichever comes first. Then it shuts off. So every 20 minutes, yes, the stove does maintain the coal bed. But at most, even on 30-degree days or 20-degree nights, this thing will run, I think it was like 8 times, 6 to 8 times in 24 hours. Like, it'll run a demand cycle. And that all depends on the wind, too. I mean, I have got a log cabin. It's not the very best insulated. The windows are drafty a little bit. You know, you can feel some wind blow through in some spots. Something we're working on. Got a lot of stuff coming up here soon. But yeah, if you guys got questions about the stove, questions about why I still burn this small wood, throw it in the comments. Maybe I'll make a video of it. If you've got any questions at all, or you need to contact me, logcabinfirewood83@gmail.com. Jack Mischke on Facebook, Log Cabin Firewood on all other platforms. Feel free to subscribe on and follow on the other platforms. It doesn't cost you anything, and it does help me out. But take care of each other, stay safe, have a great rest of your day, and thank you so much for supporting me. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you.